The story kicks off with a hardcore gamer named Alan who spends a grueling 3 years on a game only to feel let down when he finally finishes it. Instead of celebrating his achievement, he's left frustrated because the game didn't challenge him at all. What he really desires is a game that tests him to his limits, something so incredibly difficult that it might even take 10 years to beat. So he sets out on a quest for his next big challenge. That's when he stumbles upon a strange game that claims it never ends. Normally, if a game just installs itself on his computer without permission, it would raise some serious alarm bells, but he's already too intrigued to back out. He jumps into the settings and cranks the difficulty all the way to Hell mode, opting for the untested Summoner class to add a bit of chaos to the mix. Without a second thought, he agrees to all the terms and conditions. Unfortunately for him, one of those clauses mentions something about transporting the player to another world. Before he knows it, Alan finds himself reborn as a baby in the countryside. A whole year passes, and life as an infant turns out to be way better than Alan ever imagined. He doesn't have to deal with work, money, or any responsibilities. Plus, the milk is amazing, and he's got caring parents who look after him. His dad, Rodin, and his mom, Dacia, seem like a genuinely happy couple. However, with the game set to Hell mode, it feels like a recipe for a classic tragic backstory. One night, after being tucked in, Alan raises his tiny arms and starts muttering every command phrase he knows, desperately trying to pull up a status screen. Even though he's supposed to be a summoner, he has no idea how it works. Just when he's about to give up and fall asleep, he tries one last time, and this time, something actually appears. Unfortunately, it scares him so much that he starts screaming, causing his parents to rush into the room. In a panic, he hides the book. After checking on him, his parents leave, and the second they're gone, Alan pulls the book back out. Relief washes over him when he finally gets to see his stats after a whole year, and they seem right for a 1-year-old summoner. All of his summoning skills are at the lowest tier, but the book says they'll improve with use, so Alan decides to test it out right away. At the moment, he's limited to summoning H-rank insects and beasts, which sounds pretty weak to him. Not expecting any fireworks, he's surprised when the book flips to a message section where he finds a letter from the world's god of creation. The deity apologizes for the delay in getting Alan's status book ready, explaining that the summoner class was still in development and took a whole year to clear the necessary approvals. Alan doesn't care much about the apology, but the fact that the summoner class was rushed out gets him excited. If it was hurried, they're bound to be bugs he can exploit. Eager to test it, he decides to start with summoning an insect. However, he quickly realizes he has no idea how to activate his summoning ability. Usually, he'd just look it up on a subreddit or watch a quick tutorial, but without internet, he's left figuring things out on his own. After a few minutes of thinking, he figures out he needs to create an insect skill card first. He gives it a shot, and it works perfectly. Now, he's finally ready to summon his insect. But just as he's about to do it, his mom comes in to check on him again. With no other option, Alan pretends to be asleep. The next day, when his parents are busy with their usual routines, he opens his grimoire and finally summons a grasshopper. Bright light floods the room, and he's initially mesmerized by how beautiful it looks. But that feeling lasts only a second before a massive grasshopper flies right into his face, and he totally freaks out. After calming down, he realizes it's just the grasshopper he summoned, so he tries giving it commands. Unfortunately, even though it's a summon, it still behaves like a grasshopper and doesn't understand anything he says. On the bright side, he discovers that summoning it boosts his agility and endurance stats, which makes him pretty happy. Sadly, his excitement catches his mom's attention, and when she sees the giant grasshopper on the floor, she instantly squashes it, leaving Alan absolutely heartbroken. Over the next few days, Alan continues to play around with his insect summoning, but soon enough he gets tired of it and decides to switch gears to beast summoning. This time, he manages to summon a mouse. Like before, the book sends it straight at his face. Thankfully, Alan is ready for it, so it doesn't freak him out like the last time. The mouse comes with its own stat boost, still not the brightest creature though, so having a real chat with it is out of the question. On the bright side, it has this skill called Scurry, which it performs every time Alan tells it to, but honestly, that skill isn't very useful. Alan quickly figures if he wants to summon stronger and more useful creatures, he's going to need to level up his summoning skills first. Later that day, Rodin comes back home covered in blood, none of it his, thankfully. He helped the village guys take down a giant boar. Alan's curiosity piques, and Rodin offers to take him to check it out. Without a second thought, Alan jumps onto his dad's shoulders and they head toward the hunting grounds. For Alan, this is his first glimpse of the world outside their home, and he's soaking in all the new sights. However, the journey takes longer than expected, and eventually he dozes off in Rodin's arms. When they finally arrive at the boar's body, Rodin gently wakes him. Alan blinks and then freezes in shock. This boar is massive. He can't even fathom how his dad managed to help take down something so big. A little later, the villagers spot Rodin and break into cheers, celebrating him as the hero of the day. Alan turns to ask if this great boar is really that strong, and Jera explains it's a C-rank monster. Usually it takes about 20 hunters to take one down, so yeah, they're a big deal. That bit of info sticks with Alan, since it gives him a good idea of how to measure monster strength. But before he thinks about summoning anything of that caliber, he knows he has to buckle down and grind for XP. After 10 solid months of grinding, Alan finally reaches level 2 as a summoner. With that comes a solid upgrade. His stats get a general boost across the board. Plus, he unlocks the ability to summon and fuse G-rank monsters. Exciting, right? But there's a catch. Fusion costs a lot of MP. So Alan devours dinner to refill some mana and rushes back to his room, only to hit another wall. His grimoire clearly tells him his max MP still isn't enough to attempt a fusion. It's back to the grind for him. Fast forward to when Alan turns 3 and he finally gets his MP stat high enough to try out his new skill. He checks out the fusion section and manages to create his first G-rank summon, a bird he proudly names Chappie. Chappie can mimic voices, which is perfect for setting traps or messing with enemies. Alan also adds a frog and a mole to his team. The frog is pretty useless, just jumping around and flashing like a living distraction. But the mole, way more useful, as it can dig a massive hole in seconds. Compared to his H-rank summons, these new ones feel way more practical. For the first time, Alan actually feels like he's playing a real game, instead of just grinding in baby mode hell. Still, he's not strong enough to face real threats yet. Around this time, Jera's daughter, Krena, comes over to hang out. Her idea of fun involves sparring, and unfortunately for Alan, she's ridiculously strong. He maxes out all his summon buffs just to keep up, but she still wipes the floor with him effortlessly. The girl's on another level. At the end of the day, Alan and Krena head home, where they find a surprise waiting. Dia is pregnant again. While Alan has been grinding his levels, Rodin and Dia have been busy leveling up the family. With Dia now unable to do heavy work, Alan offers to help with the harvest, since his summon buffs have him lifting like an adult now. But his parents quickly shut that down. They tell him he should stick to small chores and enjoy being a kid for now. Rodin reminds him that real responsibilities will come soon enough, so he should enjoy this peaceful time while he can. Alan feels a bit let down at first, but then he realizes how brutal farm work can be. No decent parent would expect a 3-year-old to handle that kind of back-breaking labor. Finally getting it, he backs off and lets it go. Things calm down until Dia mentions something odd she noticed. She saw Alan in the backyard earlier throwing rocks at a tree. Curious, she asked what he was up to. Alan brushes it off, saying he was just practicing self-defense in case a monster showed up. But honestly, he was testing if he could unlock skills outside of summoning by repeating basic actions. Sadly, that attempt didn't go anywhere. Rodin is still impressed with Alan's dedication and says he's looking forward to his appraisal ceremony. Alan has never heard of that before, so he asks what it means. Rodin explains that when a child turns 5, they undergo an appraisal to reveal any hidden talents or skills. As winter sets in, Alan keeps experimenting and decides to check how durable his summons are by summoning a grasshopper in the snow. But that little victory quickly turns into chaos when Krena shows up again, eager for another sparring match.
As usual, Alan gets crushed, but while he's busy trying to fend her off, he completely forgets about his summon. That's when things go sideways. The grasshopper, still bouncing around, ends up crawling up Kraina's leg, scaring her silly. She trips and falls, dangerous enough on its own, but especially risky since she's pregnant. It's clear the fall triggers her labor. Ready or not, the baby's coming. Roden quickly tells Kraina to go fetch her mom. When she arrives, she helps with a rushed delivery. By sunrise, the family welcomes a brand new baby boy into the world. Everyone's filled with joy, except for Alan, who feels a bit conflicted. He still doesn't understand why a game would reincarnate him into this world in the first place. But when he thinks back to his old life in Japan, he realizes there wasn't much waiting for him there. This new life, unexpected as it was, has given him something far more important. That's why he resolves to keep pushing forward, not just for himself, but to protect the only real family he's ever had. By spring, Alan knows his appraisal ceremony is coming up. He asks his dad what to expect. Roden explains that every kid goes through it when they hit 5. If Alan ends up with a rare or high-ranking skill, he might just have a shot at an elite path. But it won't be easy. Competition is fierce this year, especially with Kraina and others turning 5 at the same time. They all make their way to the Commoners District where the ceremony is held. But as they get closer to the church, Alan starts noticing something strange. Most of the other kids look polished and dressed up, while he's stuck in near rags. Now that he's paying attention, he realizes he's been dressed like this since birth. If that's any indication, his family must be pretty low on the social ladder. Still, it doesn't bother him too much. When they reach the church, everyone gathers outside. A couple of priests step out, and Alan hears people in the crowd mocking some of the poorer families. The priests shut that down quickly, reminding everyone that divine blessings don't discriminate. Even a broke farmer's kid could end up with a legendary skill. With that, they usher the crowd inside for the ceremony. As Alan steps in, he spots 3 towering statues near the altar, likely representing the deities worshipped in this world. One of them is Elmia, the deity of creation, the same one who sent him an apology message about delays in developing the summoner class. First up for appraisal is Paloma, the village chief's son. He places his hand on a glowing crystal sphere to reveal his stats. Paloma does as instructed, and soon the stone wall lights up, displaying his class as a merchant. His father looks pleased, but Alan expected more dramatic. It's essentially the same function as his grimoire, just using letter grades instead of numbers.
The process continues, with some kids walking away with impressive talents while others get nothing noteworthy. Hours pass, and now only 2 are left, Alan and Kraina. Kraina practically sprints over to the crystal with excitement when her turn comes. The second she touches it, the thing erupts in a blinding glow. Her father momentarily panics, thinking something might be wrong, but the priests are just stunned. Turns out the reading is genuine, and Kraina just unlocked the Sword Lord class, one of the most powerful titles around. Her dad is overjoyed, but Kraina herself doesn't seem to grasp how significant this moment is. Alan isn't surprised by the news, considering he's been beaten by Kraina for years. Now it's his turn, and the priest tells him to step up to the altar. When he lays his hand on the crystal ball, nothing happens at first. Then suddenly there's a flash of light, and the thing sends him flying backward. Roden rushes over to check on him and turns to the priest, asking what his son got, since reading isn't exactly his strong point. Based on the crystal's strong reaction, Roden expects something incredible. Instead, the priest sadly says Alan has 0 talent. Alan is left stunned. There's no way that's true. He knows he has a skill, but when he looks up at the board, it confirms it. Every single stat is locked at E rank.
They head home together afterward, and despite what just happened, nobody treats him any differently. Alan really appreciates his family's support, but deep down, he knows the whole no-talent thing stings. His grimoire still works just fine, so he figures the E ranks are probably due to him being stuck on Hell mode. All the other kids are the same age as him and likely got evaluated based on their leveling potential. But for Alan, since it takes him literally 100 times more XP to level, it makes sense that his stats are in the dumpster. His real strength is probably way higher than what the board suggests. Most people would lose their minds over something like this, but Alan isn't just a casual gamer, he lives for the brutal grind.